So my name is Wilber Tupua. I am an original delegate from Samoa, but I'm currently based in New Zealand. The project that I'm working on right now, it doesn't have a name yet, but I'm working with a group of academics at Auckland University to try and lobby to the United Nations and to the International Council to change the scope of the United Nations Refugee Convention 1951. Just to add a little bit more context to that, what we're working towards is we're working for climate change refugees in the Pacific region. And if the project that we're working on, if it becomes successful, it can affect the entire world. So in the meantime, what we're doing is we're doing a lot of legal research, and we are lobbying to our local governments and the international realm to try and change the provisions of the UN Refugee Convention in order to recognize people who have been displaced by climate change. Well, the major impact is that it will allow people from the Pacific to migrate to other countries like New Zealand, Australia, and they are able to seek refugee status. Because currently, if they migrate to those countries, they can't get refugee status because climate change is not recognized. So if we are successful with our project, it's going to set a precedent for the entire world, for anyone, regardless if it's Africa or the Pacific, who is affected by climate change, they can go to another country and claim themselves as refugees. If you look at the Pacific, especially the islands of Kiribati, Tuvalu, Micronesia, they are adversely affected by climate change. They are sinking. These islands are atolls. It's been scientifically proven that by 2050, they will be completely underwater. So here we are strategizing to find solutions. What are we going to do with these people? So the sustainable one that we're thinking of right now is to change the UN Convention. Because if these people move to other countries, those countries will reject them because they don't have the legal authority to accept them because of the United Nations Convention. Do you sort of understand what I mean? So if you change the UN Refugee Convention, it changes the attitude of countries that will allow these people to come and migrate into them. We're trialing out with the Pacific because we are the ones that are sinking fast. In 2050, our populations could extinct. So what we're doing is we're focusing on them right now, but once the UN Convention has changed, it applies to anyone across the world, not just the Pacific. Our next step is we're hoping the research that we're doing right now, or that me and my friends are working towards, we're hoping to get that published internationally, and then from there we can make submissions to the United Nations Refugee Commissioner in order to try and change the convention. I'll give you a little bit of context because the UN Convention only recognizes people who are fleeing from wars or are threats of persecutions in their countries. That's in Article 1 of the Convention. What we're trying to change here is we're trying to include climate change people as well, you know? These are the same people. The fundamental word that's in the Convention is called persecution. And persecution in the context of the UN is people fleeing wars. But we're trying to say these people in the Pacific and Africa are persecuted because of climate change, you know? Their lives are in danger because of climate change. We've consulted a few people from the Pacific, and they are on board with the idea of, because it's a very technical issue, you know, that it's a very legally technical side of things, it's very hard for some of our people to understand, but we're trying to paint to them the outcome that will come out of this project if it becomes successful. It will allow families, friends, people to move legally and reside in other countries without the fear of being deported back to their countries.